Greetings and salutations, Dave Duford here. Welcome again to another case study testimonial. We're here with Scott Gorish, who is a DIG agency agent. Last month in October 2024, he wrote 45,836 AP in his first full month at the DIG agency with no prior insurance sales experience. What we're going to do on the video today is learn a little bit more about his background. And we've spent a lot of time here really prepping before the call, talking about some really important things that I yell at you all about all the time. And now Scott's going to yell at you about them, like about doing your due diligence, the importance of having a thick skin, working from home. So you're going to get a lot of really good perspective from a very fast and up and coming excellent agent. And it's a pleasure to have you here today, Scott. How you doing, man?
Thank you, Dave. It's a pleasure to be here.
So how did you end up in the world of insurance sales?
Just came to me naturally, honestly. I didn't have a plan to get into it. Uh, Obviously, after high school, you did the little college thing. Didn't have a plan though, so I did the 2 years and didn't know where I want to go, what I want to do. So obviously, after that, you got to get a job somewhere. Went to restaurant work, landscape work here and there, and then ended up in warehouse management. So I did that for about 5, 6 years. Obviously, did the growth. But yeah, I mean, after high school, I was fully into sports, right? So I had that competitive nature. But after that, I just never knew what I wanted to do, work
Sure.
wise, anything. I didn't make the pros. So after I did the warehouse stuff, I just had a realization. I was like, yeah, the money's great, but is this what I want to do forever? Do I see
Right.
myself doing this kind of work when I'm 45, 50 years old? Am I happy? Am I having a purpose? And the answer was no. So obviously I saved up good amount of money, paid the bills, was able to do all that in that lifestyle, but I wanted more. I wanted to wake up and have a purpose to go to the job that I want to go to and not drag my feet because 70%, 80% of your life you're working. If
Yeah.
you're not happy doing it, you're just wasting your time away.
Right.
So that's where I started dipping my toes into sales in general because I knew it was competitive.
Right.
It was still that sports competitive nature. I
100%.
did in-home improvement sales. So I went into a traveling in-home presentation for doors and windows, selling like that kind of stuff. It was awesome. The process of it was awesome. What wasn't was the traveling 2.5 hours, 3 hours, not
Yeah.
knowing when I was going to go to a house and not having a schedule really. I was always on call.
It's like the
So
old days of face-to-face final expense sales. I remember those.
so the sales aspect of it was awesome. I got that figured out. I did that for about 2 to 3 months, but I mean, just the no schedule, the no real flexibility of knowing what I could do each day with my day to day. That's what kind of threw me off with that. So that's when I went into the good old Indeed and just typed in remote sales, and I saw insurance. I saw life insurance. I saw that everywhere. So I said, all right, let's give this a shot. As I went after get my license, I applied, went on YouTube, looked at stuff, saw everybody out there, saw you, of course, and I really started digging into your videos because I saw certain titles that hit me like, hey, do you know commission structures? Do you know releases? Do you know all that stuff where difference between a captive agent and a non-captive, broker versus all that? Dove into all of your information, got my license, and I went on about an interview tour, I called it. I
You
went to
did
all
what
the,
I tell people to do. You like actually
oh,
did your due diligence.
about a week and 2 weeks worth of just, I want to say I had about 10 or 11 interviews. And I went to 5 to 6 Q&As with you guys.
Right.
And I asked the questions because I want to make sure I wasn't jumping into the career without knowing what I'm getting into. I didn't want to job change. I wanted to come into it with the best chance coming in to
Right.
start.
Right.
And that's just what I saw from you guys. And it has been nothing but exactly what I've been hearing, what I was told. You got to put the work in. Don't get me wrong, but you're coming in with the best chance here. And that's what I love.
Awesome.
That's what I learned.
So let's talk about a couple of things that you brought up that I think are really important. It's like this is your first work from home profession, right? You've worked on site like most Americans. Now you've transitioned to this like you're telling me you've got a place to actually do your work in a spare bedroom. Like it's is it all rainbows and sunshine? Like is it easy to work at home? Is there difficulties? Kind of give the viewer some perspective because they may be a little surprised.
Yeah. So it sounds amazing from first glance, obviously. Everyone's like, oh, I get to work from home. Well, you have those temptations still. You got the living room behind this wall. You got You got the kitchen to go make some food and hang out, and before you know it, an hour break comes 2 hours break because you throw on something on the TV. And obviously, you want to do all the chores in a day. You just don't realize that it's right there to do, and you're supposed to be working. So my the best way that I got into it was I wanted to make sure I created that safe workspace. I
Right.
want, whoever's in the home with you guys, make sure they know when you're in here, this is where you are, this is your office, this is your work area, and they need to respect that. So create a nice ambiance, create a nice little area where you are okay with being 5 to 6 hours straight before you do take that lunch break, before you take a break, and then get back into it to do the rest of your day. So obviously, when you're going to an office, you don't have any kind of temptations. You're there for those set hours. You're supposed to do it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. But when you're doing this kind of work, you're your own boss essentially. Obviously, we work for the DIG agency, but you are controlling your day to day,
Right.
and that's not what you're going to find if you're clocking in 8 to 6, 8 to 5 somewhere else. You have to hold yourself accountable to make sure that you're putting in the time and putting in the effort needed.
The irony about doing a profession from home, and especially insurance, because it's akin to some level of entrepreneurship, is all the things that you like think you're relieving yourself of, like accountability or a boss breathing down your neck. Like it actually becomes a potential risk factor. Like you now have to fill the role of somebody to keep you accountable, right? Like we encourage you to stay accountable, but we can't force you. You're not a W-2. We don't hire W-2 employees. They're just 1099 independent contractors. So that means you have control over your hours when you work. So there's this level of self-discipline that you have to develop, because otherwise, if you're not disciplined by the rules that you set, you're disciplined by somebody else's rules. Like in my house, I mean, look, I've got blinds over my door. That means I'm doing something really important. Don't knock on my door. My kids know that. I get mad because you have to create boundaries, or, you're especially telesales where you have to be dialed in the whole time, ready to take a call. You can't be pulled away because it's like death of a thousand paper cuts, right? Like one thing turns into another, and then you've blown half your day. It's like, well, why not I just blow the other half of the day now? So moving on here. Couple other things here moving forward. You mentioned something about the importance of thick skin. I think that kind of like takes into the perspective of what it's like as a new agent. Can you kind of describe what the experience has really been like selling over the phone, dealing with clients? Give the people watching this like a brutally honest take about what they're going to expect and actually experience.
So, great question. So, what I learned being in the home, that's different to the telesales. When I was in the homes of folks, yeah, they're requesting information, they want to get it, they're inviting you to their home for that information. They're not going to have the ability just to say, get out of my house right now. Like, they're not going to do that.
Right.
Well, when you're doing telesales, it's this simple. You're off the phone with them. They don't need to look you in the face and say, get out. Like, that's going to happen. And you need to have the thick skin to know that there's going to be people on the line that you're getting, and they're going to say, I didn't request any of this information. Bye. I didn't do bye. And it's going to happen. You got to realize that it's not you. You can't take it personal. You can't take that to heart, because there's going to be folks out there that just they don't want to be helped sometimes. But then, you know, when you're doing the telesales, you're always going to have that person that does want to have that help, and you need to earn that trust. Just like you're in front of their face, you need to build that rapport over the phone. You need to earn their trust
How do you
because,
do that over the phone? Like what, we got some tips to help new
yeah.
agents kind of like how can you take a stranger sight unseen and make them trust you?
So the way I like to do it is you want to build a connection with them that you're relatable. Most of these folks are on a fixed income. Well, I always mention, yeah, my parents, they just retired. I know exactly what you're going through. They're on a fixed income as well. And another great place to do it is when you're doing your underwriting. They got some health conditions going on. You got to realize, like, if your family members, if they have something that they're mentioning, like, yeah, my aunt, she just had a knee replacement. My mother, my father, they have the diabetes. Like, connect with them and be passionate with them. If they quit smoking, wow, you that's not easy to do. What was the trick? Or they lost a lot of weight. Wow, you that's amazing. Like, I don't even hold on. You lost 60 pounds, and let them feel like they're in it with you.
Right.
Don't take the reins and go full speed. Slow down a little bit. And when you see those nuggets of time pockets where you can build it, you got to go ahead and build that rapport with them.
Yeah.
And I'm at the age, I'm about to be 32 in a week here, but I'm at the age where most of these folks are my parents' age. So I
Right.
had that ability to try and connect as their, their child almost, their son. So that's where I really like to go all in with it and just talk about how they grew up different now than the times that I'm growing up in. And I like to dig into what they did for work, let them build a friendship with me by having them tell their story. And that's also what I love about telesales. You're licensed all across the country. There's so many different lifestyles out there that I would have
It
never
is.
got to
It's
hear about.
fun. Yeah.
It's
It's a lot of
awesome.
fun.
And that's
Yeah.
another thing too. I have fun doing what I'm doing because I'm
Yeah.
learning and I'm talking to folks that I would never get a chance to. Where if you're
People,
just in one state and you're going to the homes, you know what they, the area, you can build that rapport, but let these folks tell their stories because you learn from them. They have a lot to tell.
it's funny too. Like I used to think as a face-to-face agent years ago, like, well, people won't trust me because I'm from Tennessee and I'm calling into California. But it's exactly the opposite. Like people like talking to people from different walks of life. It's really interesting. It's somewhat like so much in life, right? It's about your mindset and perspective. And if you just assume it's bad, it's going to be bad. But if you find a way to look at the bright side, I mean, it's fun to just talk, just to talk to different people and see what they're about. And it's like so much in this business. It's preparing your mindset to take it in the right way, and not be negative. Because there's enough frustration with this business, guys. Like you have to have a thick skin. You're going to have plenty of people tell you no, many more than say yes, and you got to develop a process to deal with it. Yeah, go ahead. You want to add something, Scott?
Yeah. So real quick, again, with that rapport building, like this is a step that you don't want to skip this
No.
because if you speed through, we have a script here obviously, but there's going to be moments where, and by the way, guys out there, you need to learn the script when you're coming on. Know that by front and back of your hand because folks might want to talk about something that's towards the end of the script where you're not just going to cut them up and say, oh, whoa, wait, that's at the end of my presentation here, I'm going to get to that. No, you need to be able to know how to adapt on the fly.
Right.
So you need to know the script in and out. That's first and foremost. But you don't want to skip the rapport. You don't want to skip these times in the beginning because that is what helps at the end when you're trying to close a deal. You can get them. So one of our agents here, his name's Jeff Wisdo, amazing man.
Yeah.
And he has an analogy here. It's called, yeah, this job, this selling, this presentation, it's kind of like golf. It's all about getting the ball onto the green. Well, when you get to the end, the goal to get the sell, to get the deal done, you got to get that ball in the hole. You got to putt the ball. And you need to get the banking information. You need to get the social information. This is where a lot of folks are going to be
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm not interested in my social. I don't want to get that. No. And it's because you didn't take the time early to
Right.
earn their trust. I
Right.
rarely get a social objection nowadays. And the banking one, it's not so much that they don't trust me. It's more so that they don't know where their checkbook is right now. And
Yeah.
what
Right.
you can do is, you can still get that information with them on the phone. That's not a lost deal. You just need to know how to handle that. But if they're telling you, I don't feel comfortable telling this information over the phone, well, you missed something. And
Right.
that's when, especially for you new agents coming in, big thing is you need to record and listen to your calls.
Second
And
person to
oh,
say that today. We had Lori Bentley on earlier, and she's
oh,
like, record
Lori's a
yourself,
pro
guys. It's life changing when it comes to execution.
because when you record your calls, you might be in the middle of that call and you think you did everything right. Well, you go back and listen, and you're like, oh my God, they were saying this, and I went right to the next part of the script. If I would have just addressed this and made it clear, they might have just wanted a clear answer. Instead of
Right.
giving them a whole runaround, they might have just been like a yes or no, that's exactly how it works. Something so simple where you missed it, that caused 30 minutes down the drain that you could
Right.
have earned the sale. And going back and listening to your calls, listen to the top producers' calls that we have in our DIG classroom here. It's amazing because you pick up little nuggets here and there. You're not going to remember everything from every call, but 20 seconds of one call, you apply to the next. You go back and listen. 20 seconds of that call, you apply to the next. And it just keeps stacking on,
Right.
which over like my first month, it was okay, but it wasn't amazing. The second month, it was getting better. I'm learning and I'm learning and learning. You just need to apply the training the way that Tim Hildebrand here is amazing. He has a training regimen that we follow,
Yeah.
and that's big to listen to your calls. But you just need to make sure you're applying it. If you're not doing it the right way, you're gonna know it's gonna show up in your results.
Right.
So really, listening to calls has changed change my results.
Any, as we wrap this up, again, Scott, thank you so much for being here and being willing to do this. Any last pieces of advice you would give somebody who's thinking about getting into this business or maybe unhappy with how they can change their circumstances and have success on a faster basis than maybe some agents? 95% of agents fail, in this business. So that's kind of the big thing we want to avoid. What advice would you give somebody listening in to give them the best chances of success?
So want everyone to know that this is not easy. It's a simple process, but it's not easy. You still need to apply that same grind. And it's almost like professional athletes out there. Like they didn't get to that stage by just hopping in and getting free leads, so to say. They didn't just hop in and get, you have to practice. You have to make sure you're putting in that work on the front end, and then it shows on the back end. And just making sure that you're taking the time to apply what is told you need to be coachable. You need to take the time to apply what is being told. That's the best way, because you're not going to know all the answers coming in. And you need to know that it's okay not to have all the answers. Be adaptable. Be okay to fail a little bit in the front end, but make sure that every failure that you have is a lesson.
Right.
And come from that brings all the best things. And another little thing that I liked was that, yeah, coming in the free leads, it's free. Don't get me wrong, but it's not, these leads are not free. They're still coming out of a pocket and coming out of your pocket, David.
Ask me how I know.
So we need to make sure that we're still bringing the quality. Like my thing is, if I feel like I'm getting through calls, I'm not doing the best job, take a little break and, make sure that quality is still there, because it's more important than the quantity of work you're putting in.
Right.
Slow down, make sure that you're still doing everything right, and take each lead, take each call like it is your own money. Take each call like it is coming out of your own pocket, because that's where you're going to get the conversions. You need to be able to convert. You can't just come in and blow through these calls and waste all the lead potential.
Right.
So that's another thing where, free leads, but you also need to make sure that you're investing in your proper setup. That's where you have success too. Don't come in with just a laptop. No. Make sure you're taking the time and buying 2, if not 3 monitor setup. I went and got a nice standing desk. I went and got a walking pad, a standing mat, and creating a nice little comfort area where if I don't want to sit all day for 8, 9 hours, 10 hours, I have the chance to, stand. I have the chance to walk a little bit and keep the blood flowing. And that might seem like nothing to most out there, but it really
is when
does,
you're in it. Sitting around that long is not good.
Keeps you going, right? And getting up early, planning your day, knowing what you're coming into, hit the gym, do a walk, get a good, breakfast in you, and just start the day out with a plan and a clear mind. That's another big, big tip I could say. Don't just come in and have a negative mindset, because you could have outside factors that it's going to transfer over the phone.
Right.
These folks hear these things. You need to be uplifting. You need to be energetic. You need to be each call, not bringing in what happened on the last call. Right. Shake it. Come into each call with a new game, a new live game. Because when you go on these calls, it's like you're in the baseball field. It's a live game. You got the audience out there. You want to make sure you're coming in and you're playing your best game.
Right. Well, Scott, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you, man. And if you guys out there are interested in joining the DIG Agency, maybe you're interested in remote sales, you like the idea of working from home, that's what we do and focus on at the DIG Agency. What makes us special is that we specialize in remote life insurance sales, mostly final expense, but providing you with free leads so you don't have to pay a dime for leads. That's huge in this business. We have a completely proprietary lead dialing and CRM system that blows the socks off of everything else out there as far as the ability for you to write a lot of business. It's great if you're a brand new agent, like Scott was when he got started, or like Lori was in our last call, or if you're experienced. We accept part-timers, full-timers. We just want people who are have the right personality and the right coachability aspect to them. That's all we need to teach you to be successful. So if you want more information, guys, just head over to daviddufour.com. Watch the FAQ videos, watch the case studies like this one. And then if you have more questions, come to as many Q&A calls like Scott did. We're happy to have you on. Like, we have nothing to hide. We want to be as forthcoming as possible. We don't want you to make a mistake. We don't want you to jump in too quickly. And then when you're ready, simply just apply And we have an application interview process. Not everybody is selected. Again, we're particular with who we select because we want our agents to be successful. So again, Scott, thank you so much for being here and I appreciate you, man.
Thank you, David.